First, I am going to do a quick story for you. I was supposed to go to Miami today, but I moved my trip back to go tomorrow. I'll be in Miami for 10 days, so I'll be recording from there. I'm speaking at the pre-money conference, which is a 500 startups conference. I'm doing a panel with Adrian Grittinger, and Eric Newcomer is going to moderate that. We're going to talk about investing. He does impact investing. I do marauding capitalist investing. And then I'm actually going to interview Nick. You'll be interested in this. They asked me to moderate a talk with Kathy Wood.
Oh yeah,
and somebody else. I forgot her name. She's another investor that you can ask Heidi right now, who's the other person, and get the information. We might be able to, if anything good comes out of that, we might be able to reuse it for the show and see if they're recording it. All right, Noti Gang members, I see you coming in. Barbara, you were first today. Congrats. Alex, second. Bruno, third. Michael Chester, Serge, Dog, Alvin, Baldo, ENIAC78, Akshay, Lita, Francis, STG80 back in the game, Spade 2351, James Calacanis, rings a bell. Jeremy Davison, never heard of him. Manu, Zen Prophet, of course, geeking out. Jake, how can you give your thoughts on Salesforce's new co-CEO? Oh boy, here we go with the co-CEO thing. It's going around, the co-CEO thing. There was a thing about co-CEOs, like it was just considered like a major red flag to have co-CEOs because there was no single person in charge. And companies got big and kind of got okay with that, or maybe calling somebody a CEO inside of a company. So they made Susan Wojcicki famously as the CEO of YouTube because it's such a giant thing.
Which makes total sense to me.
It makes total sense. Yes, of course.
Yeah.
But she's not reporting to the. Yeah, but they don't report, right? And so it's
all they report is revenue.
And
then
ultimately,
they do it once a year kind of.
And ultimately, if Google wants to make a change and they're like, yeah, this is what we're going to do, Sundar's going to be like, this is what we're doing. So it's like a CEO in title because of the scale of it, but you're really like the president or the head of the division because you can be overruled.
Yeah, is this co-CEO, is it kind of like one person runs day to day, one person does like long-term big picture stuff? Is that generally what it
depends on the organization? Some organizations, it's very natural that there could be, somebody who is focused on sales, marketing, product, the actual operations of the business, and another person is doing business development, talent recruiting. You can mix it up any number of ways, like managing the investment community. Other times people put a co-CEO in during a bridge transition. So let's say Benioff eventually, how old is Benioff? 60? I'm going to guess. Late 50s. Somebody can tell me. It's got to be older than me, right? If he isn't, that's pretty depressing.
57.
57, perfect. So he's 6 years older than me. He might be wanting to retire at 60, so this could be like a transition kind of move where he gets to keep his CEO title while that person gets trained up. So that would make it something for Wall Street to be able to digest and not get worried that the person who's the founder, we've been talking a lot about founder authority and founders at companies, so you get the idea. All right, so we're going to just do a quick story on the Twitter announcement. And do you have the actual screenshot of the terms of service, like the one I tweeted, to pull up? And did you actually?
I didn't see what you tweeted, but let me pull it up real quick. We have a bunch.
Basically, I actually tweeted the actual copy in it, and reading the copy as opposed to like all these hot takes is always a good starting point. So we have like your grok of it. But if we're going to talk about the private information policy, pulling up the private information policy would be a really power move. So I tweeted it earlier today, and I always change the color of my background of the screenshot just so it has a little contrast. So you'll be able to find it. And somebody have the link to that? Who has the link to it?
So are any of these kind of what you're talking about here?
I can't see it. That's too small.
Oh, you can't read that?
Way too small on the screen. Yeah. But that is the tweet. And you can see it's from blog.twitter. So I can pull it up on my screen here to read it. I mean, I have mine. But I don't have the link to that. Oh, I linked to it in my tweet. Okay, here we go. I'll put it into the Noti chat so everybody has it. And I'll put it here. Okay. So there was a blog post and they just basically outline it, but it'd be good for me to like read directly from that. So I'll just do that myself. You don't have to put it in there. Okay. Ready to go? Here we go.
QuickTime's going, right?
I already told you 202 seconds and I'm now at 737. Thanks for the triple check. Great. Always good. All right, here we go. 3, 2. All right, everybody. It's the day after Jack said he is leaving as CEO and will be leaving the board of our favorite company and favorite social network, Twitter. Right after he did that today, Twitter updated their security policy. Now, their private information policy is designed to keep people safe in a world where anonymous accounts on Twitter can go kind of crazy and do things like dox somebody. What's doxing? Well, if you don't know what that means, it's basically your personal information. There are levels of doxing. I was doxed by Mother Jones earlier this year, where they put the actual town where I live, which is a very small town. And I was like, why would you do that? And I asked the writer, please don't mention where I live. Just say the Bay Area, because they were trying to dunk on me and they tweeted it. And then I actually reported it to Twitter that they did that and they changed it after I called them out on it. Because it is dangerous. And the reason it's dangerous to dox people should be apparent to anybody. I've been doxed 3 times in the last 2 years. In one case, somebody took a picture that I took of the skyline and they did a reverse image search and then basically found a listing of my home. And this person was a professional and they are upset about me because of some political thing. I think it was because I was for Mike Bloomberg and not Bernie or something. And they literally posted my home address on Twitter and I immediately reported it. It got taken down, but it is dangerous because I've had 3 stalkers. I've had death threats. When you become a high profile person, even moderately, 10,000 people, 25,000 people following you, which a lot of people have now on social media, 1% of people having a bad day, suffering from mental illness, on pharmaceuticals, legal or otherwise, people can do really rash things. We're seeing it now in the pandemic. And so it is a very important thing that social media companies get this right. So what was the change they made? Well, they added, and I'll just read to you directly from it, new media and private individuals without permission of the person depicted. Okay. So, and there's a bunch of other things that are not permitted in this: contact information, non-public personal phone numbers, email addresses, financial account information, bank account information. This should all seem super obvious to everybody. Medical records. And you can't threaten somebody. You can't threaten to expose somebody's private information. So even threatening to dox somebody, asking for a bounty or a financial reward for somebody else, posting somebody's private information, all of these things are not allowed. And this is really a backstop for the bad 1% of people who get too heated. But it is a real issue. If you go on TMZ and you just type in stalker, you'll see all the celebrities who have to deal with, this kind of issue. And it can be scary for individuals. I know many people with security and many people in the tech industry who live, otherwise normal lives, have massive, massive security presence. You could read about Zuckerberg having a stalker and a pretty serious issue. And I'm actually reticent to even talk about this because sometimes that incites more, but we do need to have a talk about it. And it's a super important issue for us to address on social media. So the goal is obviously preventing harassment, which is great. The official wording is confusing. And here's the quote: "There are growing concerns about the misuse of media and information that is not available elsewhere online as a tool to harass, intimidate, and reveal the identities of individuals." So, you remember there was that Central Park Karen. I won't say her real name here. I don't need to put any more heat on her. But she was recorded by a bird watcher. The bird watcher, just seemed to be all bad people. He asked her to get her dog out of the no dog area in Central Park. So 2 people just getting in each other's business. And, this goes viral. And this is the thing that is unique about the world today, is that when somebody does something, they're having their worst moment in life, they're having a freak out, they have a bad day, they literally have a literal nervous breakdown, anxiety attack. It could be captured on video and it could ruin the person's life. And we have to ask ourselves as a society, like, does everybody have that once or twice in their life? Or do some people suffer from acute anxiety or just are socially maladapted? And as much as you want to dunk on the person, there also is some compassion that should happen. So I think what we're seeing here is some sort of way to think about that, perhaps, but it's unclear. And you remember in September, well, you probably don't remember this, but in September of 2020, Twitter was named in a lawsuit by a man who claimed he was incorrectly doxxed as a white supremacist and then lost his job. According to law.com, the lawsuit claimed Twitter had breached an implied covenant of good faith and fair dealing. Twitter was dismissed from the lawsuit in November of 2021, just this month, because the plaintiff had no contract with them, according to Bloomberg Law. So there's all of this shared information, and when you put it out publicly and it trends, there are real world consequences. Some of the real world consequences are arguably a good thing, right? If you do something really heinous, the world should know. Like, so if, I don't know if I saw somebody get a cup of soup thrown in their face, like nobody should have to do that. There is no excuse for that, and that person got arrested. Or if somebody beats somebody up. And so how does Twitter actually apply this? Well, people on Twitter went kind of crazy that maybe the new CEO, because of previous tweets he's done, or maybe he's a little more on the woke side, and they'll be controlling more speech. This is a juxtaposition from the founders of Twitter. Biz, Ev, and Jack were known for being the free speech party of the free speech party. In other words, they grew up, like myself, in Gen X or baby boomers, kind of trained that freedom of speech was a core tenet of America, and even ugly speech you wanted to protect. If somebody did something, said something completely inappropriate, you just want to always err towards more speech being better and drowning out offensive stuff with more non-offensive stuff. And so that was the concern people have, and it was a little bit confusing. And Wesley Yang, a Twitter account, tweeted, and he has a Substack apparently, and a number of people made the same sort of observation. Would the George Floyd video violate Twitter's new terms of service that prohibit posting video of private individuals without their consent? I'm reading Wesley's tweet, and that is a great question. So I think this is one of those situations where they post a rule that's a backstop. It's not meant to be every time you upload a video, because as I said, like, well, if I take a picture of a bunch of at the next Knicks game and I happen to have 5 people in the photo and I don't have their consent to post it, am I breaking the rules? I'm going to lose my account. So enforcement of this rule is at Twitter's discretion. So it's a backstop against bad behavior. I don't think it's as bad as it looks, and the timing certainly makes people's minds wander. But I don't think that this has anything to do with Jack leaving and then them wanting to do this. And so obviously there are rules against revenge porn or anybody's private photos that were shared. You can't do that. That's pretty obvious. That's been around forever. So this is going to be a continuing saga as we figure out how to deal with social media at scale. And that if there wasn't scale here, this wouldn't be such a big issue. But because of the algorithms, because things immediately surface to the entire corpus of users, pre-algorithm, this didn't come up as much. Because pre-algorithm, you'd have 20 people see it, 2 people see it, it would get resolved, it would get taken down. So in the era of blogs didn't have this virality. You could have people reblog something, they would then decide, I'm going to write a blog post about that blog post. But there wasn't some list that algorithmically just shot it in front of 100 million, 10 million, a billion people like we have today. The good news about the new system we have is that people can be super informed. The bad news is people can get hurt, and things that were mistakenly posted or posted with bad intent or posted to harm people can go viral at such a velocity that it could actually ruin people's lives. And that's the reason why I think the algorithms are going to be what we need to change in this framework, when we're thinking about the framework of social media, the algorithms are just too powerful. Maybe things should not get shot up to the top of everybody's feeds all the time. Maybe that's not good for society. Maybe things should slowly percolate, right? And so if everybody turned down the algorithm in terms of the number of people who saw something, they might lose a little bit of time on site, but we might gain a little bit of wisdom and maybe a little bit more judgment about what should be shared online. Because we've had chat rooms since the 80s and people have been online, and this has not been this acute of an issue that we see today. So good on Twitter for doing this, and maybe not the best communication, but this is an opportunity. Jack was pretty available to people on Twitter. He would reply to people. He would go to speaking gigs. And so let's see if the new CEO is as available. Okay, now for a new segment, our tweet of the day. And it's going to do double duty here because it's also our video of the day. But as we are now 5 days a week, I'm going to be reintroducing some of the great segments we used to do on the show when we were just weekly. This way you can look forward to something. So one of the things we're going to try to do is have the tweet of the day. If you have a tweet of the day, you can DM it to TWI Startups, open DMs, or you can email producers at thisweekinstartups.com. Today is tech analyst Jeremy Oyang. He tweeted, "We ridicule the newest technology we don't understand. Here's Bill Gates being laughed at for the internet." And a clip of Bill Gates on Letterman in 1995 talking about the internet. It's 70 seconds. I'll see you on the other side.
But you know, I think about this, and what about this internet thing? Do you know anything about that?
Sure.
What the hell is that exactly?
Well, it's become a place where people are publishing information.
Right.
So everybody can have their own homepage. Companies are there, the latest information. It's wild what's going on. You can send electronic mail to people. It is the big new thing.
Yeah, but you know, it's easy to criticize something you don't fully understand, which is my position here.
Go ahead.
But I can remember a couple of months ago, there was like a big breakthrough announcement that on the internet or on some computer deal, they were going to broadcast a baseball game. You could listen to a baseball game on your computer. And I just thought to myself, does radio ring a bell? You know what I mean?
There's a difference.
There is a difference.
It's not a huge difference.
What is the difference?
But you can listen to the baseball game whenever you want.
Right.
Too.
Oh, I see. So it's stored in one of your memory deals,
Exactly.
and then you can come
That's
back
the RAM
a year
thing
later.
you talked about earlier.
Yeah. Do tape recorders ring a bell?
Yeah, so great. It's so easy now to look back on that and say, well, it's global and it's free and it's accessible 24 hours a day for free. And those would be the other reasons that this is incredible. And anybody can publish to it, whereas only a small number of people can publish to the radio, right? There's a gatekeeper. So we never even got to the gatekeeper part of this, but this is triggering all these discussions I used to have where I tried to explain the internet to people when I was 23, 24, 25 years old. I was probably 24 when this was going on. And that's, I think, what's happening now with Web3, although we had a different definition of Web3 just 10 years ago. The original definition of Web3 was going to be the semantic web. Basically, every component on the web was going to be tagged so you could know this page had a recipe on it, and then these were the ingredients, these were the steps, this is a temperature. So you could pull information semantically in an organized basis into databases, et cetera. That was kind of behind the scenes, and nobody really cared much about it except for Google and other database providers. So now we have Web3. People are trying to figure out what is all this stuff, and you're explaining it to people when they haven't used it or when it's very difficult to use. And I think that's what we're seeing with DAOs, NFTs, obviously Bitcoin, Ethereum, and other cryptocurrencies. We'll see how many of those actually turn into reality. But there was reasons to be skeptical about it. In 1995, it really didn't work very well. I did a radio show on the internet starting in 97 on pseudo.com. I have actually the tape somewhere. I literally have cassette tapes because they used to, at the studio, record the cassette, and I have the MP3. So I'll pull them out. But I was doing a really bad Howard Stern impersonation in those days, probably. And it's probably just horribly embarrassing, like my performance in Center of the World that some of you got to watch on the live stream the other day. Of course, there's nothing better if you want to do great misses Barron's May 31st, 1999 cover story, Amazon.bomb. So this could be another great headlines in history, another segment we do. And you can go ahead and pull that up for our live audience watching live. But basically in 1999, Amazon.bomb, which was retweeted by Jeff Bezos recently. Okay, next up on the program, we are we doing this Jargon Watch?
No.
Okay, so where's
Checklist
the
episode 9, how to raise capital.
Where's the
running a fundraising process?
Where is the segue? Oh, we didn't write the segue. Oh, okay, we wrote the intro. I'm gonna go do the intro for you guys. No one did the segue. All right, 3, 2. Hey everybody, it's 3, 2. Hey everybody, welcome to This Week in Startups. It's episode 9 of our startup checklist, and this is the one you've been waiting for. You've got your startup really tight. You figured out your product. You know your market. You got your team. You got your culture. Everything's just dialed in, and you want to raise money. So today we're going to talk about how to raise capital, finding investors, figuring out if they're the right fit for you, how to nail that cold intro, and how to pitch your startup perfectly so that you don't frustrate investors and they understand what you do, why it's important, why they should invest, and you get that second or third meeting. We also talk about sending investor updates, which makes raising more money easier in the future. But first, Twitter just announced a new privacy policy revision. It's super confusing. I'm going to break it down for you. And then we're bringing back our tweet of the day. And this is an archive video of David Letterman interviewing Bill Gates in 1995 about this new thing called the internet. Stick with us. It's going to be a great show. Okay.
Good. Segue written.
All right. 3, 2. Okay, next up, episode 9 of the Startup Checklist, how to nail your fundraising process. And on episode 10, we're going to do what we missed. So if you have items that we missed in this checklist, which you can review right now, thisweekinstartups.com/checklist, go ahead and review the checklist. You can email producers@thisweekinstartups.com and tell us what we missed. And if we address it, I'll give you a shout out on the next show. All right, enjoy.
Good.
All right, there we go. All right.
Beautiful.
I'm going to go get myself a Cuban sandwich in Miami. Twitter.
So I actually have a question for you.
Oh boy. Here we go.
The original Web3 was like a database thing?
It was called the semantic web. So just do a Google search for semantic web. See what I'm talking about.
That is so interesting how the definition changed over time.
Well, if you do Web 3.0 definition, you'll see that.
Yeah, I'm reading about it right now.
Well, no, if you do it,
in the chat.
my definition on calacanis.com was like the number one definition. It's not anymore. But I don't know if you do a Google search, Web 3.0 definition. You can find my blog post about it from 2007.
We'll pull that up in a second.
It's in the Slack room. Cool.
Loading it.
Okay, I uploaded. All right. Any noties have a question for me? I can take a notey question if a notey has a question. Semantic web. There it is. Boom. And there's my post.
I'm looking for a question right now.
Did we disable a dislike button? I thought that was YouTube.
No, it's so as far as I can tell, it's
so
not up
dumb.
to the account, but on a lot of, I still see it on some videos of like smaller accounts, but on all the larger accounts, I don't see it anymore.
Maybe that's what they did. Well, no, actually, that doesn't make sense because they said they did it to protect smaller accounts from getting.
Yeah, they did say they did it to protect smaller accounts.
Yeah.
I saw that several large YouTubers like MKBHD, he reported, he's like, yes, I had the meeting with YouTube where I asked them to not do this after they made the decision, but they said, thanks for telling us. So
right, because it's almost like if you have videos that are so significantly, massively upvoted, you don't get credit for that. Right? Like it's a great signal for other people if it's like 95% plus upvotes. You're like, oh, it's a great video. Now no more credit. I got a good question, I think.
Okay. So I got to remove somebody from our syndicate. Some people are rude. I just like if people are rude and like they they do something like really rude to a staff member or something like that, you know what I do in the syndicate? Just boop, ghost them. I don't even tell them.
There.
From the syndicate,
it's a
not
club.
the Slack.
Yeah.
Wow.
Not on the Slack. It was just somebody like was just publicly saying something very negative, and they're like, I'm like, well, why would I share my deal flow with you?
Boom.
Who?
Boom. I said boom, as in like,
boom.
Yes, yeah.
I'm not going to dox the person.
Put it on Twitter.
Yeah, no, I mean, the person literally tweeted at me and like said something super negative, and I was just like, hey. And he's like, well, it's just criticism. And I'm like, yeah, but you're part of an investment club. Like, if you're part of a golf club and you have a problem with something, you don't tweet it. You go to the management and you say, hey, I have a problem with something, right? People are weird. It's like, I get it if it was Verizon, but.
Yeah, that's the differentiator, isn't it? It's you're tweeting a faceless corporation or tweeting about an individual publicly. Two very different things.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to do a question? All right, here.
Yeah, you got it in front of you.
Oh, sorry. Okay, sorry. It's hard for me to read because I put the restream small when I'm doing it, so I have the notes up, but now I've made the restream big, so now I can do it. But hold on, I got to get rid of that little private chat because it's covering the screen. Okay, here we go. 3, 2, okay. This is a question for me, for my Noti Gang members. It says, do you think it's better to take money from a crypto-specific fund or a seed A fund if we can fit in both categories? Okay, I'm assuming you're a crypto company. So crypto funds, I think, probably understand your market more. And then venture funds probably understand starting companies, business, going public, M&A, company building, maybe a little bit more. And so I think if you wanted to get both of that experience on your team, you would then split the round. So if you're raising 4 million, maybe 1.5 million from each and then 1 million from angels might be a nice way to do it. So that's always my preference, is to try and build a coalition of multiple investors who can help you grow your company. Famously, and people don't know this, Google had, I think, not only Sequoia, but Kleiner Perkins, and they decided, and this is back in the day, obviously both of those firms wanted to do the whole round. They just said, we're going to split the round between the two of them. And they just said, that's the way it's going to be. They didn't give them a choice. So it was sort of like, if you don't want it, then we're going to pick somebody else. So you can, as the founder, dictate this. If you have a VC who says, I need to put in, all 10 million, I want to own 22%. You can say, you know what? That's not what I'm looking for. I would like to have you and this partner at this firm. I want you both working for me to build this company. You both have different experience sets, and then there'll always be a time for you to invest more money in the company and increase your 10% to 15%. But that's not available. I'm not going to give the deal to just one person. I'm looking for two VCs and notable product people specifically to join my board from VC firms. And I've selected you too. That's why you want to have multiple people bidding for your shares. Make sense? And since we're here, did anybody see that I am raising money on Republic for Inside? And we can pull up that deal. I'm not doing this for you to invest, because we actually have a couple $1 million in the bank for the company. I'm actually doing this at a relatively low valuation compared to what I think we could get, because I wanted to engage more people in I really like the idea of engaging more people in the fundraising process. And I have a good partnership with Republic, and they do equity crowdfunding. So we just announced it an hour ago. We have 61 people for 28,000. It's a $5 million cap. I don't know if we're going to hit 5 million, but I think that this is kind of a cool thing to do. And what I'll just highlight for you on the deal memo, and we can throw the deal memo in, is, this is equity crowdfunding. So non-accredited investors can come in. You can see the terms on the side. I think you can put in as little as 100. I'm not sure. My team worked on this, but we're doing that Form C, crowd safe.
Yeah, it did say $100 minimum.
It's $100 minimum. But take a look at the chart with the revenue. This is something I'm super proud of. We have been building these newsletters. The newsletters are doing okay. Newsletters are crowded space, but you can see last 3 months, we really had a nice focus on monetization. we were kind of figuring out the product before that. So we had, looks like we broke $1 million in a quarter. So I'm super proud of that. And we had raised 2.7 million or something previously, and we have 2.1 or 2.2 million in the bank. So we're doing this opportunistically to get more people involved. We did newsletters. You probably have signed up for some of those. Then we did virtual events during the pandemic, and those have been going really well. They've started to generate revenue, and they've generated a lot of, I think we had over 20,000 people sign up for them. When people sign up for them, I give them a free year of the newsletters, premium newsletters. So that's kind of cool. But the thing I'm wanted to highlight for you is the next piece of the puzzle. So there's a little circle in there. That's the flywheel. Maybe you can find the flywheel on that page. And there it is. And if you just make that bigger, just a little infographic there, or you can open it in a new window. But you see the community, the newsletters are driving events. So if we're on our newsletter, we tell you about the event you might come to it. Whoever's moving the screen around, you're moving it far too fast. You're giving everybody. There you go. Just stop.
Sorry, I lost the flywheel for a second.
Okay, yeah, just stop for a second. There you go. So there's the flywheel. The newsletter drive people to the events. The events are going to drive people to our community, which is coming in Q1, which I've been building. I've been working on this for the last couple of months. I had this epiphany because I was like, our website doesn't really do anything other than if you want to see the previous newsletters or let you sign up. And I was like, I love Reddit. I loved to dig back in the day. I love Hacker News. What if we created that, but you logged in with your credentials from LinkedIn? So if you go to the top, all the way to the top, Nick, the first screenshot is of that. You can write all the way to the top. So that's the newsletter. And if we go all the way to the top, you probably made this too big, but okay, there you go, boom. So if you open that image, if you right mouse click on it and then open it in a new window, what you'll see is, and actually I could even give you a better preview. This is just mock-ups that I've been working on with the designers, and it's pretty cool. All of the stories that are in the newsletter will be published here first. So while my writers are writing their newsletter and they summarize a news story, they'll be able to put the story up here, and then you'll be able to vote it up and down. And what you don't see here is, maybe you can go back. Is there a second image there or just one? I might share the Figma with you. Let me see if I have the Figma here. Yeah, okay, so there is the cryptocurrency page. So you know how subreddits work, or on Dig, there were categories. So there'll be all these categories. But let me send you something, Nick. Hold on one second. I've been doing this in Figma, or I should say my designer's been doing it in Figma. And I'd love your feedback on this. I think this will be fun for all of us to do, if I can find it. Where is the latest Figma? One moment. Okay, I think this is it. Let me see. I'm going to send you a link, Nick, and you can pull this up, but don't publish this. Here we go. Twist taping.
In twist taping?
It's in twist taping, yeah. So if you click on that, I'll show you folks that. Let me pull up my chat room so I get your feedback on this. But this is like, I haven't really built a product in a while, so I really wanted to challenge myself to build a product from scratch. And Nick will pull this up. And when he does, don't click on anything yet, Nick, because have you used Figma before, Nick? I don't know. If you've ever
No, I have not.
Okay. So great. So now you're in there. So here we go. What Figma lets you do is it lets you click on things. Don't click on anything yet. And then it will show you what's clickable. So here, if you look, there's the news stories on the left. And what I did was I put people's full name, their title, and where they work. So the concept here is that with the full name and title, you get some value, right? Does that make sense, Nick?
Makes sense to me.
So if you were involved in the crypto community or the podcasting one and you had your title here, you're getting a little bit of, quality for that. Our events are listed on the right. If you scroll back up, you'll see on the top right, there's my name. And it says suggested newsletter for you. If you click on the first suggested one, good. It has subscribe on the right there. Yeah. You see that blue? No, Nick, that's not what I wanted to do. Okay. Right there on the right there. Yeah. So maybe you have to make this one size smaller. Okay, good. So when you click that, it made Inside Streaming. You can't click all of them. One of his things. Now, if he clicks on this story, see the blue story and the second story is clickable? click that. So what Figma is doing, Nick, I don't have you haven't used Figma before. There's only certain zones that are clickable. So if you look here, here's the story. This is like the story that would come from our newsletter, or this could be submitted by the community with all the bullet points, like a really tight abstract of it. But if you look on the right, I'm putting all of the social media feeds for that person, so that if you get your story on the homepage, you don't really get much of a reward on Hacker News, Dig, or Reddit, right? You get some karma points or whatever. Here, you get your professional accounts, almost like I was thinking about Linktree, Nick, right?
Yeah, it is
and
like
then,
a Linktree.
Because we don't want people's email to be out there, and obviously it's your choice what you want to share. But if you click show, it will show the email if you're open to doing it. The reason you have to click show, okay, it's not clickable, but the reason we do that is so it doesn't get scraped. And then see where it says contact, Nick? If you scroll down a little bit, we're going to have a messaging system in here, kind of like InMail. So you can write a little note. If you click send, don't type in a note, just click request. You're going to be able to send requests to other people. Boom, and it will send it. Those 4 buttons there are for the moderators, Nick. So our team, we have all these analysts. If they like the story, we'll be able to move it to the category page, move it to the home page. You get the idea. And then I don't think there's anything else clickable on this page. You'll obviously be able to submit stories. And if you click delete story, click that. I actually didn't know that was clickable. So they're working on it live. So if you click delete story, this is like easy moderation for our team. So I built the moderation into the live site. If you're a mod, and we might deputize people in the public to become moderators, they could say, hey, that's spam. Hey, that's a duplicate. That's self-promotional, or it's a low quality source. So you'll be able to get rid of that. And then does it let you pick one of those or no? I don't know if let's see if you click that, what it does. Okay. So anyway, story gets deleted. Yeah. And so that's what I'm building. And we're going to have it for all the different categories that we have newsletters for. And then if you can click on that. And I think 2 of those are clickable. So click at either one of them, cryptocurrency or venture. Doesn't matter which one. So now here we are in venture capital, right, Nick? If you look on the right-hand side, to scroll down a little bit, these are the top folks inside of venture capital. So in each category, there'll be the top contributors, which will be a combination of comments, upvotes, submissions, moderation, points. So unlike a subreddit, subreddits are just like every possible topic in the world. We're going to create the topics here, and then you get to get your name up in lights. That's the basic idea. Well, I'm curious if this might be interesting to any of the people in my audience. Do I have a full-time designer? I'm using an outsourced one. Doxed Reddit. Yeah, I didn't like to design. Would you add video clips? So yes, you're going to be able to submit YouTube videos, upload videos. We might add like audio to it eventually, like, Clubhouse rooms kind of thing, where we have a company called Space that we invested in that makes casual video. So there could be a casual audio. There could be a casual audio room for each topic. So when you go to venture capital every day, you could pop that open, or we might just embed something. Who knows? But yeah, it's been really nice to do this. And I did think about making this cryptocurrency based, where your votes and submissions are somehow tied to a cryptocurrency. That would be like a 3 or 4.0 kind of thing. But for now, I just want to, invite some folks. You have to have LinkedIn to log in, because if you think about LinkedIn, they never nailed content, right? They never figured content out on LinkedIn. They have educational content. Actually, they did figure that out. They have networking skills. But if you wanted to go for a topic on LinkedIn and really geek out about cryptocurrency, maybe you could find a group. It's kind of chaotic. This is like a structured content place to go and just geek out of what's in the news today, and then participate, where you can submit stuff and have comments. So anyway, I think this is going to be like really, I'm really excited about it, and I should have it out first quarter of 2022. So I've been working really hard on this. What do you think? If you're in the chat room, any of the chat rooms, rate the design. Tell me, would you use it? And what features did you like most, or what features would you like to see? Would be cool if it takes off. You could probably white label it. Yeah, you could do white label it. I mean, my idea is to just do every possible topic in the world in real time. So if DAOs and NFTs happen, boom, we put them up. And if you have the DAOs and NFTs there and people are submitting stories, well, then when we send the newsletter could be 3 stories from us and 3 stories contributed by our audience. How cool would that be, Nick? If you had like, 3 or 4 quality submissions from the audience.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's good. What's the process like of actually sharing a story? Is it easy?
If you go
to pull it up?
back, yeah, you can just, it's very simple. You put the URL in. When you put the URL in, it does something really clever, which is it pulls the headline, the first 200 words of the story. So you can just start clicking on that. So boom. So when it goes, it pulls the headline and it pulls the description. So every story out from a major publisher has a short description. You pick what topic you want it to be in. And now you can edit those, right? So you can either just put it as the publisher wants it, or you can edit it. And if you submit it, you can just do it in, here's the preview. You can just post it. And then you're done. There it is. And
It's
can you
good.
click
It's
that?
clean.
We were going for clean, and I've got a really good group of people building it. And I think this is going to become addicting. Because you know how we're always looking for interesting stories in specific topics? If I can get just, because one of the problems with these social news sites is that there's no structure, and therefore the quality's low. Therefore the marketers take over, right? So I was thinking about this. Rachel and Justin and Charles, are you here?
I am listening and intrigued.
Okay, cool. Okay, good. Well, I'm looking for some feedback.
Yeah,
So.
I'm also here.
So the number one issue in these things is the marketers take it over, right? The spammers. So I had to address that as a product person. And this is why I like doing the podcast and being an investor. It makes you better at being an entrepreneur. So I was like, you know what? Sucks. It really sucks when marketers take over a space. So we've been working on this, right, Rachel, with the meetups. And I said, by founders, for founders, and then we're going to let investors in, but nobody else can come. And people are like, oh, why do I have to apply to come to this like silly meetup? It's like, there's a reason. The reason you're applying is because we want to keep the quality level up. So my thinking is you can't just post a story. You have to log in with LinkedIn first. So now, if you're logging in as a PR person and then you're spamming it, we can just say no PR web. We'll just ban the PR web or the press release site. And then we just click that button. Hey, this is self-promotional, no self-promotional stuff. Like we were dealing with in the Slack, where we told people this is a place for conversation, not self-promotional. So submit something that you find interesting in the world, but not your own stuff. If you have your own stuff, if one of your friends wants to submit it and put their reputation online, that's fine. So that's why having a real name. And this is the other piece I didn't show today, but I'm building a tree, Nick, and Justin, it's going to be an invite system. So you'll invite people who are friends of yours, but you're responsible for them. So under Justin, if you invited 5 of your friends, it would say invited by this person, which Clubhouse does, right? When you look at a Clubhouse profile, it says who invited them. So it's going to show who invited them and who invited them. So it'll be like kind of a clickable tree, which I don't know if any other sites have that.
I love that feature. I think that's a great. That's one of the things I really liked about Clubhouse when I was there. I'm not there anymore. Who is
real names?
I liked that it gave you a status already, and you looked at other people's who they were invited by. You're like, oh, they know that person. Oh, look at that. They know that. They know that blue checkmark person. Like it gives you a gravitas. I was invited to Clubhouse by Nick, which I think made me look good because I'm associated.
Sorry about that, Charles.
No, it's great. Yeah. So I think that's kind of the idea. And then using your real name, and then they're not populated with good content. Well, I already have 15 to 25 newsletters going out a day. Each one has 7 stories. So I've already got
I think
100 items a day going out. So each of these will have 7 new items a day.
Yeah.
So when you go there, you're going to see 7 solid items. Our items will be at the top, and then user submitted ones will be below them, unless somebody on our team really likes it, and then they'll move it up. And then our team can take something you submitted, Nick, and we can edit it and polish it. And then it will say submitted by Nick, edited by Rachel. And then you'll have the version, so you'll be able to see the version. So like, let's say there was some, I don't know, it appended, The Verge at the end of the headline, right? Well, that kind of looks janky, so we take that out, right? Because it has already The Verge noted at the bottom left. So anyway, there's all those kind of like little nuances, but I'm super excited about this for myself because I like to consume news, and I'm looking for a place where I can get like a community of people who actually know what they're talking about. And so we're going to invite people who are if you want to be part of this, the best way is subscribe to the newsletter that you want to be able to post to. So we're going to let, like 1,000 people in from each newsletter. And then those people will then get 3 invites each and invite people from their LinkedIn. And you're going to have to authenticate with LinkedIn to start. And then, and if you submit something, it goes to the new page, and then somebody on our team will be responsible for either putting it up or putting it, down, as it were. So what do you folks think in the chat room? Is it possible to view the contributors' LinkedIn? Yes. So all of those are clickable. That's the key. And I'm going to make it clickable on the top level. So if you go to that story page, Nick, so if you pull up the main page again, which you might just want to reload the Figma, and then you click on the second story, it pops up, right? The second story was clickable, I think. And then the first comment, I think the person's name is clickable. So I came up with this. One of those is clickable. Yeah, maybe that one. Let's see if it opens. Okay, good. Now scroll down. And then I think one of those is clickable. Yeah. So I made a short pop-up. So when you're on the story page, this is super important. You can click on the person's name and see their link tree, and then go to their different places, or go to their full click on go to profile. We haven't built the profile page yet. Yeah, it's not built yet. So you can close it. But this is how modern, websites get designed. So I've been working on this for a couple of months, and we're almost ready. How will you deal with content in different languages? It's only going to be English to start. Any user invites coming to some of the moderators on Reddit? Yes. So what we're going to do is the folks who are the analysts for that vertical. So every vertical, all 15 of them have analysts at Inside who are full-time. They're going to deputize people to be mods in each of the groups. That'll be maybe in 6 months or something. So if you are a good contributor, if you write intelligent comments, you might become a mod. And if you become a mod, it basically means you would be able to pick which stories get voted up or whatever. What rewards would top contributors receive? So the concept of the reward, great question, is I want the rewards to be for public recognition, right? So that you get more followers on your Twitter, more followers on LinkedIn, more business. People know your name. They know your title. They know your company's name, your company's website. They know what job listings you have open. So I'm thinking about it. What does a professional want, right? They want credibility in the verticals they care most about. So for our team, we all care about angel investing startups, or maybe podcasting, or Charles's case, AV. So if there was the AV version of this, Charles coming up highly ranked there would be good for business. If we had a space we had growth marketing and marketing as newsletters. And so we'll probably pop those back up. And when those come back up, if you're a marketer and you're doing this for a living, you might get customers, you might get clients. And so that's what I'm going for, is the leaderboards on the right-hand side of the best contributors. The best contributors, we do have a leaderboard, Toby. Nick, pull it up again and show them on the right, the leaderboard in the venture capital or the cryptocurrency one on the right-hand side. So when you close that, you'll see it. If you go to the topics, I think. So you have to X out of this one, which I think you just click on the Inside logo. You don't have to hit refresh every time, but you just hit the Inside logo. I think you go back to the top. Would love a mobile version. They are actually working on the mobile version. So there's top contributors on the right. You can see it right there. How are you planning on monetizing this? Great question. All that revenue you saw, like the chart on the Republic page, comes from email advertising. All the email newsletter advertising will just flow into these. And so you'll just see ads in between stories. And then I might make a premium account. So where we show all of your links, we might give people who have non-premium accounts like 2 items. And then if you're a paid member, you get all the items. And when you're a paid member, your stories already automatically go through to the main page or something, right? If you're trusted. So what incentive do I have to post on this site rather than something like Medium? That already has, yeah, so you nailed it right there. You answered your own question, Peter. That has really good distribution. If we have 1,000 people or 500 people a day looking at the NFT or the DAO space or the cryptocurrency or the podcasting space, well, those are 500 potential customers or followers that you don't have right now. And so I think you only really need 1,000 people coming to each page every day who are executives in that vertical for it to be really solid distribution, because medium's for everybody, but this will be like, there'll be an NFT, topic, right? Let's see if there's any other interesting questions here. Is there a section for memes only? That's not a bad idea. We could do something like that. I like the content strategy. Thank you, Chris. Okay. If someone I invited posts something horrible, do I get blamed too? Of course. Beard Script, you nailed it. That is kind of the idea. And we might not ban you, but let's say you were a marketer. This is what I typically see. I saw this in Slack. We let people invite other people. What we found was like these marketing agencies would come in and then they would invite 10 other people from the marketing agency, and then they would all spam it together. And so then we turn that off, letting people invite other people. So in a way, what happens is if you have an invite system, the people who are the bad actors, they kind of invite other bad actors to create voting rings. And that's why Reddit and Hacker News sometimes have to deal with like voter rings, because it's like an open system and it's pseudonymous. It's all pseudonyms. So we're not going to do pseudonyms. You have to not only put your name, you got to put your company's name. So I think that'll just put everybody on their best behavior.
Are you going to get any advice from Kevin Rose on this? It seems like this might be.
I've done this so many times. Like I did this for Netscape, and I tried to buy Dig famously. Kevin Rose tells the story. He told it on this podcast. I think I offered him $1 million or $2 million for Dig in the early days. So yeah. Very clean design, like it. Thank you. Signing with Ethereum. Get lots of crypto readers. Who is the customer? The reader, the writer?
Didn't Anatoly say that crypto will solve spam bots? Didn't he?
There's many ways to solve spam bots. I mean, a real name policy does that. So I think the crypto people are, it's a little naive, I'll be honest, because here's the thing. There was a product called Goodmail that AOL had bought. And the idea behind Goodmail was, if you're a marketer, if you send through Goodmail, you pay a tenth of a penny per email you send to the @AOL.com, @Yahoo, @Outlook. And because you're paying that tenth of a penny, you get guaranteed delivery. And so the idea was, well, the marketers, because they're paying, are not going to abuse that. But it was such a low amount of money that they just abused it anyway. So they tried to create a pay layer on top of this. And then I think Balaji actually created that with his Q&A service that he did that Coinbase bought. I forgot the name of it originally, but you would pay some cryptocurrency to reach me or somebody else. You would answer questions, you'd make money. And that whole idea of like people paying and having a cost to something gets rid of spam. The marketers actually have figured out how to make money. They know their CAC. So all you're doing is just giving them the green light to spam more.
Makes sense.
Earn.com.
Earn.com was his, yeah, which was a good idea. Yeah. Any other feedback? What do you think, Rachel? Justin? Candid advice? Anything should change?
I really like the idea. I feel like it's something that I'd actually like. I also am a big Medium fan, like that longer form reading rather than I've noticed like in a lot of newsletters, like you only get like a little bit of the information, and I'm a huge side newsletter fan, so I'm excited to see maybe more people write a little bit more in depth.
Yeah, I'm sort of somewhere in between. Like I find myself like just trotting out something that I've read as purely the Reddit headline. I say to my wife, "Oh, did you hear?" And then I take those opinions as my own. So maybe something that has the condensed and the deeper. I don't know.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to, the format I came up with at the launch ticker 10 years ago and with Inside a couple of years ago was to have an intelligent person read the stories, unspin it, write their own lead sentence, a follow-up sentence, and then do bullet points. And then Axios and TechMeme copied that format I created. Don't get any credit for that, but who cares? Immature poets steal, mature poets. Immature poets copy, mature poets steal, I think is how it goes. And I think actually Slashdot was the first one to actually rewrite the headline. It was a little controversial actually in the beginning because people were like, hey, that's not the headline I wrote. And they're like, yeah, we wrote that. And they're like, yeah, but you're linking to my story. And they're like, yeah, I can write my own interpretation of your story. And then when they link to it, they say your interpretation and your literal one. So just basically unspinning it, right?
Yeah.
So you unspin it. And that's why we do the bullet points. And then I trained all the team to write the bullet points, the least amount of text possible with the most facts in it. Say it as simply as possible. We're not going for style points here. We're going for informing the users. And the test I give them is after you've written the summary, what's the 2 questions, 3 questions that the reader would have? Okay, now put an extra bullet point that answers those. Now that you've done that, what's the 1 question that most readers would have? Okay, now answer that one. Okay, now you're done. So you summarize it. You say, what are the 2 or 3 questions that they're going to have? Okay, you include that. Now you read it one more time, make it super tight, and say, what's the 1 question you're going to answer? Your readers are going to have now. If you do that, you'd be surprised at how good the product is, which is what we do here on This Week in Startups. When they summarize the news, they read it to each other, the producers, Rachel, Justin, and Nick, and soon Molly Wood will be here, and that'll be a great brain to have in here working on this process. You're all asking yourself, hey, what is the audience's next question? Okay, there's a new CEO. Okay, how long have they been at Twitter? When is Jack leaving? Why is Jack leaving? Like the who, what, when, where, why, how, all of those questions happen. You summarize it, and then you try to come up with a couple more questions. And then eventually you'll have no more questions. And then you've done a really comprehensive job.
I really like that format. It's funny because I was about to say the other newsletter that I really like is Axios Pro Rata.
Yeah, they copied
it. It's the same exact one, same exact format. And when I was a fellow, actually, and I had to write the newsletter for the period, that's the same exact format where we had to rewrite the header and then write everything in plain English.
So anyway, there you have it. And if you want to, if you feel like, if you're so inclined, remember, only invest money you can afford to lose. You can literally bet $100 or donate if you want to look at it as a donation. Who knows? Most startups fail. Only invest money you can afford to lose. Yada yada yada. But we'll see. Maybe I'll figure it out. But right now, I feel pretty good about the revenue, and I think that when this product comes out, that's going to be the supercharger. Because right now we engage with people once in their email box, sometimes twice a day, 3 or 4 times a week. I think people are going to keep this up on their and visit it 4 or 5 times a day. I think it's going to be like really sticky in that way. So they'll get the newsletter, they come to the website, maybe they'll stick around the website. Then maybe they come to the live event every other week. You get the idea. So I'm trying to make it like a place you want to keep coming back to, because Reddit has that stickiness. Hacker News has that stickiness. Dig had massive stickiness. People would just leave Dig up all day. So that's what I'm building. I appreciate the feedback, everybody. Kara Swisher had 2,500 listeners last night. Yeah, I mean, they've done a really good job on Twitter of when the reason Kara's doing really good is because she is bringing 5 or 6 other blue checkmark journalists on, like Casey. And so if Kara Swisher was on the suggested user list in the early Twitter days, so I think she got like 1 million followers. So she's going to bring the first 500, let's say 1,000. And then every time she brings another journalist on, it alerts their followers by showing it at the top. Remember, they got rid of stories at top that they copied from Snapchat. Now they have at the top the Clubhouse rooms, essentially the audio rooms. And so when Casey comes on, he brings another 200 people. Now you got 1,200 people. Then the next person. Each person that comes highlights that a little bit more, which is like what we're doing with the thumbs up and with the live stream. So the algorithm kind of spins these things up. I might start doing some of those Twitter spaces once in a while just to try them. Are you nervous to have Molly as a co-host? Not at all. She's been on the podcast 10 times, I think. She's really smart. I respect her. I listen to her podcast independent of her coming here. And what I'm most excited about is for you as the audience to have another perspective than mine, because I think that's going to make for a great dynamic for you to get 2 different takes on a story. I might be, a little bit more enthusiastic about flying cars. You might be a little further behind on them and think they're silly. Who knows? And then what I'm really excited about is she really wants to become an investor, especially in climate change and energy. So we're going to go on that journey together, and she'll be investing halftime and doing the podcast halftime. And then I'm thinking of, with the audience, sharing what she's doing, almost like I would check in with her and mentor her a little bit on investing and say, oh, okay, did you source any deals? Well, how was that meeting? oh, here's how I would have handled that, or here's what I look for in startups, or here's how to tell, what stage the startup's in. Here's the questions I ask, all that kind of stuff. So I think it's going to be super exciting. I'm also excited for Molly's like decades of experience in NPR, CNET, New York Times, et cetera, to help our team here. So Rachel is now performing, and she does OK Boomer on Friday. She's going to do more, I hope. And so I don't know about you, Rachel, but I think Molly could be pretty exciting as a mentor for you, other than just me. Nick?
Yeah. I'm definitely really excited to have her on. I think it's going to be really fun. Great learning experience.
Yeah, she's wonderful. I'm a huge fan of Molly. And it sounds like you have a bulldog that might need your attention in the background.
I do. All right, everybody. I'll see you later. I'll see you next